I want to welcome you to another episode of Blanchard Outdoors. This week, I want to start off a little bit different and talk about the last part of our little tagline about achieving your dreams. A lot of folks are going through some stuff this week, just not only in politics, but also in personal. And I'm on top of the list of that. And I just resign myself to today to roll through it, to punch through. No matter what you're going through, remember that you're going through it, not going to stay there. And we'll come back to that. Dee and Vanessa, welcome back. Thank you for coming back on a Sunday. I know it's a holiday weekend. You guys could have been 100 other places, and I'm glad that you took a few minutes to be with the rest of us. People who don't do as much as you guys do. You guys got lives. Y'all have fun and stuff.
You do too, Ken.
I'm just on the grind, just low guy on the pole right now.
I wouldn't say that.
That's how I feel, though. That's how I feel.
Understood.
But it's a cycle.
Absolutely.
And I'm okay with that. I just got over myself. That's, I say the struggle continues. There's always some issue, and you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And sometimes your stuff doesn't have to be at the top. There's peaks and valleys.
Absolutely.
That's life. That's just life. So
You talked about folks going through things in their personal lives. I do have, quite a few things going on personally too, Ken. Family, very sick, unexpected passing of my mom's best friend. So just so many things. And you just have to enjoy life. Like you said, living your dreams. I know you said you'll come back to that. But life is very, very short. And I think this show is definitely a way to get people to understand that there's more to life than just the daily grind. There's a lot of things going on out there that we need to explore before we leave this earth. So I definitely appreciate what the show offers our listeners and our viewers because it's all about enjoying life.
Hunting, fishing, and achieving your dreams. I would be fishing at least, 5 times before now. But because of the way my pocketbook is right now, my wallet is not fat, it's real skinny. I can't go out anywhere. So I'm hoping Tuesday I'm trying to chase down an interview with a news person. And if that doesn't happen, though, I probably will go and get me a fishing license real early and throw a hook in the water somewhere. Because one of the good things about fishing is it's a de-stressor. If you don't mind just sitting there and just chilling, I think Tuesday's going to be a good day weather-wise. So even if the fish not biting, I'll be outside taking pictures and talking to myself. It's all good.
Yeah, I just came back from a family reunion.
Locally?
No, it's down where I hunt.
Oh, wow.
Down at Family Farm. So that was a good thing to see some family, friends I hadn't seen in a while. But of course, I went down early Saturday. And, my mode had to go to the 2 farms where I hunt.
Stand checking?
Yeah, make sure both stands look good, look at some of the sign, things like that. Because when I came to the family reunion, my cousin's like, "Oh, you got mud in your truck." I was like, "Well, imagine where I'll be." They was like, "Okay, never mind, we know." Because it didn't start till like 3 o'clock, and I got down there like around 12. I was like, "All right, I have 2-3 hours."
Yeah, where's it?
Let me go check some things. It's funny because then I talked to one of my cousins who I have not hunted with in a while. And man, he showed me. I got pictures of one. He's killed like an 8 and 7 point. I mean, some huge deer.
Wow.
I was like, I gotta come down and hunt with you. He's like, yeah, you haven't done it in a while. And then hung over with him that night. We rode past some places. And he and I was looking at. We saw 6 deer right there in that bean field. We saw some more deer. He was telling about the places we go. He's like, yeah, I killed 2 8-pointers right here and further down the road. So we just reminiscing and talking about that. But I haven't hunted with him. It has to be probably about 9 years since I've hunted with him. And I used to hunt with him all the time when his father was alive, my uncle, who I killed, and then I killed my first deer with that cousin. So we talked about that. And then his brother who lives in Delaware, now he's want to come down and hunt too. I said, we all got to get together and definitely hunt. So it was a very good time. So yeah, most of them stayed down later today. I was like, nah. He's like, man, you're not staying. I was like, nah, I got to get back. I got a show I got to do. And I got other obligations. They was like, show? I was like, yeah, we're on a hunting show. He was like, okay. Trying to tell them how to download the app and all that. I was like, you know what? I don't have time to do that today. I'll talk to you guys about another time. Because again, we talking. I'm like one of the youngest cousins. Like I said, I'm 50, so all those guys like 60, 65. Yeah, they 60, 65. So they all older than me. So just trying to get them to get smartphones and get up to date is something that my brother just got a smartphone probably about a year ago. So
But it's funny, you talked about bucks. So when I went to my great uncle's 90th birthday party last weekend, there was an older guy there, older gentleman, and some buddy of his, and he was talking to my cousin, who's actually my second cousin from South Carolina. He was up for the party, and he's probably in his 70s, my cousin. And my cousin mentioned to him that I hunt. And he was like, wait a minute. So the older guy came over, older gentleman, and talked to me. He said, yeah, he said, I haven't been hunting in a long time, but I used to hunt. And it was funny to me. I just found out that there were bucks that have more points than like 7 or 8 points. And I said, absolutely. I said, I know people that have 13 pointers, 14. I said, yeah, there's a lot of big bucks out there. I said, I haven't gotten one yet. I haven't gotten a buck at all yet. I said, but there's quite a few out there. So it was just amazing to me that someone his age didn't know they were larger, points.
Well, I know some people, guys who I've came across before, been hunting for 10, 15 years, never even seen a deer.
Wow.
Never got a shot at a deer, never seen a deer when they're out there hunting, just where you are, whatever your opportunities are. Now, you get a lot of people that don't put in the effort to do it. Like me, I do the full-fledged thing. Like, here I am, it's July, but I'm scouting.
Right.
Like I was seeing where trails were coming out of the woods where they were coming into eating the clover. I was, I asked the one guy that lives down, I was like, hey, have you heard these turkeys? He's like, yeah, I hear them gobbling every morning. I was like, which direction? Because then that lets me know where they roost to that. So I'm always looking and checking and just searching, and I'm seeing what new crops get planted. Like, all right, somebody planted soybeans this year. Okay, somebody planted something different. Tobacco here. So I know if this field has tobacco, there's not going to be any deer coming from that direction.
Right.
So I'm paying attention to all that. So some people, they just hunt because maybe they go out to doing this, and they just buy their license and they go out. Whereas me, I'm like year round, I'm looking and searching, same way I guess how you are, you missing your fishing part. Yeah, maybe go fishing. Me, any chance I'm out in the wild. And it's just funny, like, man, I was looking, I was like, I really need to build one of them log cabins right here and just come out here and live. Because I was like, I'm really a country boy at heart, trapped in the city. Because when I'm down there, I'm in my element. And everybody can tell it. It's like I am, because I can talk about stuff, this planet and the land and animals and everything. I just talk. I'm just real comfortable down there. Even the mosquitoes and stuff. We were out late at night and they were trying to build a fire. I was like, all right, hold on, man, I got a fire. I was like, hey, do this. All right, put some of these pine needles in because that'll cause the smoke to come up more, which will keep the bugs away. I was like, it's not we need a fire for warmth. We needed to keep the bugs away. So you want something that's going to be a little bit more smoky. So just learned that through the years and paying attention. But yeah, really in the elements. So I had a nice time being down there because I hadn't been to one. This is like my grandmother's, her family side. It was so it was like the Coleman Wynn Fagans. I'll put it out there. No, Coleman Wynn family. So everyone came from there. So it was 100-something people, and I think the farthest it came was like where I was. I mean, some other people came from Delaware over there. Some people came from Roanoke, Virginia. And I hadn't been to one since like 2006 because they do it about every 5 years or so. Okay. So definitely wanted to make this one. I had a good time too.
How did you get from where people are that don't find anything to now where you can like check out the elements and stuff? What got you? Was it the Googling, the smartphone technology, the experience talking to other people? What was it?
No, I would have to say mine. Most of the things, my foundation of what I learned was all from family. Learning from my father, from my uncle, from my cousins. Because, my uncle and my cousins, they lived down there. So they were there the year round. And then learning things from my father and then, long-term hunt buddies he had, I just learned things. And then now me watching, having the cable shows, I've learned to be fine more. And every time I watch a show, I try to learn something new. Like, hey, I didn't do that or I didn't do that. And then what I try to tell people too is I've learned most of my things hunting when I made mistakes, when I wasn't successful as opposed to being successful. Because when you're successful and you harvest animals, whatever, you think you've done everything right, even though you made mistakes. When you make a mistake, then, man, you play it over and over in your mind. Like, the one buck I missed last year, I know exactly what I did, but I played that over my mind for like 3 days. Just like, what could you have done differently and what was going on? So you learn from that and you try to
We're gonna learn though, man.
Well, those are the ones who don't see a deer or don't get a shot on a regular basis. Whereas with me and my uncle even said, he's like, man, I don't know why. He's like, if I ever go back to hunting, I'm going with you because you see deer almost every day. Well, one, I put myself in a position to make sure I can, and also make sure as far as, I know their nose and their scent is a key element. So I do everything is from the clothes. So I have mouth spray. I use, scent-free lip balm. Yeah, most, and that's one thing my uncle said. He's like, you know what? We used to do all the spray. He's like, you got anything for your mouth? Because initially they came out with a gum, and then they have a spray because your mouth can have so many germs. And I actually have a spray, and about every 2 hours I'll refreshen it up because they can definitely smell that. And then me, I make little amount of noise. I can sit there, still motionless for hours at a time. And then I have a keen sense of when I'm out there. And then my sight, I picked up movement, whereas most people are looking for an entire animal. I'm looking for a flicker of an ear, a flicker of a tail. I'm looking for everything out in the woods is vertical, so something horizontal doesn't fit. See, because we stand vertical. Trees are vertical, bushes are vertical. Most animals are four-legged, they're all horizontal. Right. So if I see something that's horizontal, wait a minute, that doesn't fit. Then once I can look at it, okay, there's an animal now. What kind of animal is it, or opportunity to get shot? So.
Same with fishing. I know guys who take their cooler, take their rod, take a bait that they think is supposed to work all the time. Like I remember fussing with people because they bring in squid. They got this giant frozen block of squid. Mm-hmm. Somebody told them squid was the magic thing, and they're not listening to you. You're saying they're not biting squid today.
Right, they don't listen to the captain. They think they know everything.
You see them.
Oh yeah.
They break it out this block of stuff, and you can smell it. I mean, that squid is some pungent stuff, right?
Yes, it is.
And they're going,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just going to get the croaker, and you're like, dude, that's not going to do it.
Yeah, there's all kinds of tricks and tools. They have the sprays. I see some of the ladies using the spray.
WD-40 on their hook.
When I catch them, they're like, okay, let me pull out the WD-40. Let me pull out the fish spray, and try this on your bait. It didn't work. It just wasn't a good day. So you can't force nature. Nature will come as it pleases. And see, earlier you talked about the mouth spray and trying to make sure you descent things. And I mentioned to you before that I actually smoke cigars while I'm hunting. And the thing about it is the animals will sometimes tend to adapt to the environment. It'll become accustomed to that smell. So it knows it's there. So my buddies and I, since we smoke cigars, we actually smoke cigars and hunt. And, I've done some, research on it, and there's other people that have done the same. They have pictures online of people smoking cigars while they're shooting a deer. Like, look at this. The stogie's in my mouth. I'm stalking the deer. It's there. Just shot it. So they also adapt to their environment when they get used to certain scents. So your mouth spray, go for it. But I'm just wondering if you're out there enough, will they become accustomed to the smells?
I think cigars probably mask the body, the human part of it. It's so strong, it probably masks the human part of us.
Very well put.
Again, it all depends on where you're hunting. You're hunting. Most your hunting been more in Maryland, correct?
Southern Maryland.
Rural areas. Where there's population people. Where I hunt in Virginia, it's rural. So the only time,
rarely when you have people out there.
What they are used to is my uncle has literally seen bucks come out while he's on his tractor because they know that sound and they're curious what's in their area. Like literally while he's plowing or doing something, they'll come out. He's actually done it one time. I was in the stand. He said, I'm going to go down here and cut some grass because I know they come out. A buck came out. And he was hoping the buck was going to come up by me. It just didn't happen. My stand wasn't down that way. But
he get some grass.
Because deer are very curious creatures. And bucks are just like a male in his house. It's his territory. What's this noise in my territory? What's going on? But all deer are very curious creatures as far as sounds and things of that nature. So you're right. It all depends on your element. They're used to smoke and those type of things. Fine. Mm-hmm. Where I am, there's not a whole lot of, it's clear air. There's not a whole lot of smoking. There's not no whole lot of sense. And again, I just want to do everything I can to put myself at that particular, but at that particular advantage, just like I haven't, my neighbor that goes out hunt, he does it. He gets bit up by the mosquitoes. There's no way I can do it. There's no way. If I don't have thermostat, I'm not going. And he just takes the bites. We come out, I see his neck all welted up. I was like, man, you got bit up. He's like, nah, I didn't get bit up that much today. I'm like, okay, you have fun. One is too many for me. And I've seen 8, 9 on him. I was like, that's dedication because that would be a distraction to me. I'm getting bit and trying to shoot. Now, I got to be focused. I want to, like I said, give myself every opportunity to harvest animals. So if I have something that can deter it, I'm going to do it. Like the mouse spray. You're right. It may not be something I utilize it, but again, I've seen too many times when people been in the woods and a deer smelled them, snorted, went the other way, or smelled them, they never got a shot. I don't have that occur. I can name less than one hand fingers of when deer have actually smelled them.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's their number one sense of they don't have to check twice. Like they can see you. They can see you 2-3 times before they'll leave. They can hear you twice. If they smell you once, they're gone. Because they know there's danger. So.
Wow. We're fishing in talking about the squid and it brought up the shark thing.
Oh, wow.
The deer, the shark, and the fishing. I was in Nags Head, right where all the shark attacks are right now. The best family vacation we ever had. We got one of those big houses where everybody can fit. It must have been, I don't know, 13 bedrooms in this thing. We had like both sides of my family in this giant house. And the guys got up in the morning, went down to the beach, and we surf casted. Before 7:30, it was the wild kingdom. I saw dolphin, sharks. I saw jumping
when was
fish.
this, Ken?
She was almost 20 years ago.
You on a pier?
Oh, wow.
No, on the beach.
Surf. Oh, okay. You're out in the surf, so you can see a good
Yeah,
distance.
so I'm like right knee-high water,
Okay.
casting out. But at about 8 o'clock on the dot, everything went. All the fish disappeared. You know, at the same time that you
Probably
see
the
deer,
tide, right?
it might be, but it's also the time. It's kind of like, you know, when you see deer at dusk and dawn, the ocean's exactly the same way. There's like cycles, and you even add the tide to it.
So do you think that's the same with these sharks? Are they coming all different times of day? I haven't looked at what time they've been
I
coming
bet you it's
in.
morning
Okay.
or evening. I bet you
So
it's
you should just time it when you go to the beach, because of course a lot of people probably aren't going to the popular spots because of the shark attacks or shark sightings, I should say. So I'm wondering if their timing is similar to what you described.
They're like, I'm gonna go early, why? Before it gets hot. Sharks are there then. I'm gonna go in the evening when the sun goes down. It's beautiful outside. Sharks are there.
Okay.
Then.
Okay.
It's in the middle of. I bet you nobody got
The
bit.
hottest time of the day is when they come out. When they don't come
Right.
out.
I bet you nobody got bit at noon. Bet you.
Okay.
Well, it's the same way
Hunting.
with animals, right?
Yeah.
The same way with us. Do you really want to do most of your movement when the hotter part of the day? No, you want to go out when it's cooler, so you're not sweating. So the coolest part, typically, on a 100-degree day, the coolest part is going to be early in the morning or late in the afternoon.
That's when they feed.
You're not going to come out from 12 to 3, which is the hardest part of the day. Well, that's when most of the other animals and things move too, right? In the waters or whatever, that's when a lot, I know going fishing where we went, you catch your big stripers early in the morning or when the water cools late, because they like cooler water. So once that sun rises, they go deeper because that top water starts getting much warmer. So you're right, the sharks. And I think with the sharks too, it goes not only with that, but then most of the activity that's taking place. Most people don't want to be out there when it's real hot, so they haven't a lot of that activity. And it's amazing with sharks because I've watched some of the Shark Week stuff when they had on Discovery Channel. They can sense one drop of blood in the water over a mile away. That is crazy to have that much water. They can one drop. I'm not saying a lot. One drop of blood, they can sense it and then have sonar to hone in exactly where that location.
Their job is basically garbage disposal.
Who, sharks?
That's what their job is in the ocean. They will suffocate if they sit still too long. They have to keep moving, and their job is just to eat and keep stuff. If you're weak, if you're dying, if you're sick, they're to get rid of you so that it keeps the ecosystem. If you had a big fish tank, you put a shark in there as the cleaner, the scavenger. That's their purpose. So they're just garbage disposal people, just taking the trash out. Anything that's weak, that don't belong, they will move it. They will eat it. They will go after it. So you don't want to be the white filet chicken nugget out there. You want to be back on the beach when they're eating, because it's a part of the ecosystem. They're doing their thing. And somehow they also remember how you said the smell thing? Mm-hmm. One shark bites somebody, another shark bites somebody. It's a pattern now. They know there's people. It tastes pretty good.
There's food here.
Here
right.
They are.
It's the same in hunting. It's the same.
Oh, absolutely.
So now that the food source is there, they're going to have a hard time. And what's going to happen? People are going to start fishing for sharks. You're going to see a giant rush to North Carolina.
Start? They're already fishing for sharks.
I mean, hard. I mean, people will be just pulling them out of the water.
He mean in that specific area where all these shark attacks are occurring.
Okay.
So not in general, just that specific area.
To the point of extinction. Because that happens every once in a while. Like when alligator attacks somebody in Florida, people go nuts on alligators and just start like killing them out of the blue. Just snatch them out of the swamp. And then there'll be like a environmental thing. Don't kill them. And they got two things going on. Watch, it's going to happen if it already hasn't.
Yeah, because you're right. There's definitely an increase as far as shark attacks happening down there. And is that what, North Carolina or South Carolina?
It's north. The whole coast of North Carolina.
Right.
Which is no big deal for a shark because that's all they do is patrol.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't sleep really. They just kind of like just keep going back and forth. So it makes sense. And they're way up north too, up in was it Hatters? Not Hatters. What's that thing up there?
And now is that a specific type of shark species? I know they have all different types of species.
I think it's probably like the same 5.
Okay. Because I know I watched Discovery Channel, watched The Great White, and they travel hundreds of miles. And basically what they do is they follow the seals, which is their primary food, to where they go to where they have their pups or their young get born. They migrate there, and then they go to their, I guess, winter, whatever. But I mean, it's like hundreds or thousands of miles, and the sharks migrate right with them,
just cruise
each time. No, I mean when they know the time. When it's time for them to go, they go the same thing. When it changes, they come back. Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. Everything's on a cycle except for people. If you think about it, we're the only ones that kind of buck trends. We don't go with nature. You being outside, trying to be one with nature, you're actually being right. Everybody else is off. That's the deal. When you're fishing and you're sitting on that boat, some people don't catch anything either for the same reasons. They don't understand that tides matter, that water temperature matters. And then you get on those head boats where the captain knows better and just park somewhere. That's like almost an insult, because you know you can park in a puddle, and we don't know. There might be like nothing under there. No, we got sonar. There's nothing there.
Well, actually, I go up front and look at the fish finder, and I'm like, Captain, show me what you're looking at.
Oh, so you're busting out.
Yeah, how do you know? And he's like, well, they're down there. See the little things, the little dots on the screen, but they just aren't biting today. They just don't want to bite. So I do listen. I mean, sometimes I've had my moments where I'm like, they're not biting, Captain. Let's move to another spot. And then you just sometimes you have to trust the captain.
True.
But you have to also, understand and have some experience. Some people are really anxious, but it's not all about, not for me anyway, getting out there and making sure I catch something, or when I hunt, making sure it's really about the experience, being out there and just loving being outdoors. And sometimes I say by chance, I see a deer, or by chance I'm able to harvest an animal today, fine. But I had a wonderful time, learning about the experience, because I'm, new at the hunting. But, you're not going to have good days all the time. And new fishermen and fisherwomen, they definitely are anxious. And they want the boat to keep moving. They're like, we're not catching. Why are we sitting in the same spot? Well, because the captain knows best. The mate knows. They know what they're doing.
Key thing with that in hunting and fishing is if you don't have any patience, it's not going to be something for you.
Right.
It's the same way. I mean, I know me talking about hunting. No, I don't kill something then it would be called killing as opposed to hunting.
Right.
I'm like you. I enjoy being out there. What I do, though, is just make sure I do everything on my part to give myself the greatest chance at success.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to sit there and say,
you don't want to waste your money either. I mean, you have to buy gear,
right.
You have to travel, you have to spend gas.
Yeah, I don't kill one every time, but the majority of the time I'm out there, I do see deer because I'm going to put myself in a position, because I've scouted out. And I mean, I know on TV, like they can sit there and they pattern deer because they have the time. They'll sit there and they know exactly what end of the field that the bucks are coming in on a regular basis. I'm not that. I'll go and see major trails, and we have it in hope to get that chance. But I get opportunities to put myself to see. Same way with fishing. You want to give yourself an opportunity to be able to catch fish. Yeah, but just being out there, enjoying nature, relaxing, stress-free. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for those of us who have hair, so yeah.
I want you to blow the wind, so we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah, I'm about to that.
We'll be right back with Blanchard Outdoors, talking about fishing, hunting, and achieving your dreams.
Your hair blowing, well.
Love it.
Oh, one of them.
Do 1 or 2.
You do 2. My man Jeff, smoky voice guy.
Who?
Yeah, he got a nice voice.
Jeff, guy from Texas.
That did this? I think he's done some stuff on TV too, because I could have sworn I've listened to the Outdoor Channel, and I was like,
that's that dude.
Like the same voice. Yeah.
Who's that?
Jeff,
doing a
Jeff
commercial.
Straub.
Okay.
5 seconds. Want to give a quick shout out to my man Jeff Straub, who does the voiceovers for us. Just want to make sure that everybody knows that Jeff and I have been rolling together for about 7 years now. I use him on all the stuff, on my wife like says, "Why you keep picking that same dude?" I like that voice. It sounds so good. I like it.
You know whose voice that reminds me of, and I mean, I'm telling how old I am because a lot of people, Wolfman Jack. Remember him on the radio?
I love him.
Yeah, that same raspiness.
Him and Dr. John.
Yeah, so
It made me want to get in the radio.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're under 40, you probably wouldn't know who Wolfman Jack is. You can Google him.
He had a distinct voice. It was quick.
Absolutely,
pretty close to Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very.
He had a distinct look too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
he was a distinguished gentleman. Love listening to him on the radio anytime he was talking about some things.
All that, and we used to have characters. That was like the difference. I think we got characters too now, but back then, 20, 30 years ago, you had people that they were who they are, and you didn't care. They were them. They were their own icon, and I kind of miss that stuff. There were some people that were strange, and you just kind of like, yep, that's how they are, and they were a part of our culture.
I just thought about Prince. I mean,
See?
I know that's totally off topic.
Nah,
I just thought about
Prince is all by himself.
Definitely all by himself.
All by himself, and he keep changing. I can tell you some Prince stories. I'm a big Prince fan. Yeah, and say what happened. Prince.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're gonna say that for another show, but he's like, no, he must tell this one now. Go ahead, Ken.
When Prince first came out, folks did not get him. They were like, this dude is like 4'10". He plays basketball. He has a very deep voice, but he can go like the whole range in falsetto. And the dude's talented, plays like guitar, keyboard, bass. He plays like a whole bunch of stuff. And the music, he was trying to do kind of like a Hendrix thing. He kind of sampled from a whole bunch of people. Nobody's original. So it's like Little Richard, James Brown. He was doing everybody. He was the Bruno Mars of the 80s. And the dude was a genius. So he's doing all this stuff. And because of his creativity, I loved him. Do you, man? I don't care what nobody says. And the concerts were off the chain because Prince did lingerie and Prince did
Lace.
Yeah, he wore heels.
lace, like, right? So
Yeah.
all the concerts were just like that. So I'm going to a concert, there's like 20,000 ladies in lingerie and Prince. And only a few dudes.
Oh, that's why you were going there. Ladies in the audience.
I loved
in
it.
lingerie. Absolutely.
I loved it. And folks did not get that for a long time. They're like, dude, that dude is kind of like, that dude's a genius. I have no clue about my man Prince.
Well, I don't know how old I was. It's crazy we talking about Prince on the outdoor show, but I was actually in the outdoors. I don't know how old I was, but my parents had taken us on this trip to Bryce Mountain. If you heard of Bryce Mountain in Basie, Virginia. Mm-hmm. We used to go there and they would rent out, cabins and chalets, and my parents would bring all their music and everything. And they pulled out this album, and there was this cover of a man with really long hair, a black man with really long hair, naked on a horse with the wings behind him. That's what I remember about Prince. Now, you couldn't see anything because he was on the horse and they had, some things, covering him up. But that was my introduction to Prince. Again, I don't know how old I was, probably 8, I don't know. But I said, this man is different. So ever since then, but he did change, like the whole lace and all that. Yep. I don't know if he was doing that initially, but, I followed him as I got older.
Well, that ties into what we're talking about here as far as, living your dream.
True that.
Because when, Prince, musical genius. Now, everybody didn't agree with some of the things he did, but he lived his dream and saw it the way he was. I recently saw the movie Get On Up, and, James Brown, he changed music altogether, and to this date he is still the most sampled artist of all time. Mm-hmm. James Brown music is, and just seeing that, it's the same way with me when people say, oh, what, you go hunting?
Oh, you're breaking the rules.
It's like I'm an anomaly or something, but I mean, it's something I love to do, and I don't let anything or anybody stop me because that's my goals, that's my dreams. Still a dream mine, hopefully be on TV to be able to talk about the things I'm doing. A lot of guys are able to live that. So, that's why I just want to tie that in. Yeah, right. So just because you're doing something a little different or something that's out of the norm, hey, if it's not hurting anybody and you truly enjoy it, please pursue your goal, pursue your dreams. Don't let anybody stop you, and get as much help as you can along the way. Right,
and for us, it's nothing out of the ordinary because it's something we want to do. And I'm sure it was that way for Prince. When people said, oh, he's odd, it was the norm for him. And that's what people don't get. They don't understand that it's nothing different for the person that's actually engaging in it. That's their norm.
Oh, it's really, really cool is that you are not the only person in the universe. You can be the strangest guy in the world. That just means that your tribe is not around you. There's some people just like you somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about hunting and fishing, there's a whole bunch of people of color who go, I don't do that stuff. But there's a whole bunch of us that do.
And they don't know what they're missing out on.
Exactly. So that's why we're here. We're here to bring all that to fruition, to let you know that you are not alone. If you are a hunter or fisherman, no matter whether you're black, white, brown, or Puerto Rican. Oh, I forgot what song that was.
James Brown.
It was a rap song somewhere.
Yes, it was a rap song.
See, back in the day, when I was DJing, I used to remember all these lyrics, and they just like float around in my head sometimes, and they come out at the weirdest time. So when I'm having my conversations to myself, I have a good time talking to myself because we go into character, and people going, that dude is really off. But it's all right. We are fine.
It's all right.
We are doing all right. Living your dreams. What do you want to accomplish with this show? You want us to get the television, right?
Absolutely. Because again, I don't see anyone who looks like me on TV. And I know it has to be, I mean, I would love to do it, or at least if what we're doing gives someone an opportunity of color to be on TV. I remember one show being on there before, and then it went away. I have to admit, it wasn't very entertaining. I think they may have taken the wrong approach. But you have to make it fun. You have to make it engaging. But someone has to give you that opportunity. And then you also have to have some type of support. Because unfortunately, it does take money. You can't do it by yourself. But to an extent, I guess you can now because YouTube and the internet has changed that online. But I mean, to actually be on TV, yeah, someone has to give you that opportunity. And like I said, just like you weren't aware, that, people of color hunt or things like that, and a lot of times there's not a lot of women that go out. And I've been doing this a long time. I can count probably on one hand the number of black women I've seen that hunt. Now, I haven't seen a lot of women hunt, period, but I can definitely count the minorities that hunt probably on one hand. Now, down in Virginia, I've seen a few that hunt because their fathers were in hunt clubs. Now, some of them didn't carry guns, but I can count maybe 2 or 3 that had guns that actually participated, and done it. But, there are people that do it and want to.
My grandmother fished, and, I looked at her pictures and I would, we never fished together, unfortunately. But I believe that's where some of my excitement about fishing came from. I don't think about that a lot, but when I think back sometimes, I'm like, oh, my grandmother fished. But there's no one in my family that I'm aware of, female in the family, that hunted. So it is interesting. And, my uncles and my grandfathers, they're all amazed by it. I haven't been out with them yet. I hope to this season coming up in Virginia. But certainly, I think I'm the first.
You're a hero to a whole bunch of people. I mean, just that was why I was kind of glad that you were on here, because if you said nothing, basically folks need to see you, that you exist, that you're not a unicorn, that it's not like some, they're sure there's black women that fish and hunt. No, there's not. Look, right here. So that's
right, and I'm finding them all over the country too.
Because you're not alone in the universe, but folks got to have that person to see, to represent. So yeah, see, we got Lanessa. So we got
that. Absolutely. And I've learned on this show as well, because I'll be honest, I was one of the ones who didn't think black people really went to NASCAR. And then I have your friend,
a young lady,
yes, and I have her come on our show. Yes, and then like her knowledge, and I was like,
she was like, what?
Chick is into NASCAR. No, I'm like, I didn't think, not only just us, but to have a female really be into a male-dominated sport, because I mean now Danica Patrick is like, I think, the only female driver.
She's like the icon.
Well,
the iconic.
Well, one,
female driver.
She looks nice, and and she's part of that, and has become a part of the boys club per se. But just to really see, a woman, a black female minority, be involved in NASCAR, know about and involved, I was like, wow. Yeah. I was really admiring and amazed to know that that was a show for me, learning for me. Like, wow, I didn't know someone really followed it and knew it and be into it that way.
Yeah, I just left her, actually. I was at a birthday party for a young lady at a cigar lounge, and LaShawn walked in. I gave her a hug, and I came back, and she was talking to some guys. I said, what are you doing over here? When are you going to come and sit down? She said, I'm over here talking my favorite subject, NASCAR. You know what I'm doing. So she came over, and she sat down, and she said, this show, Blanchard Outdoors, thank you for having me on. It's really propelled me. She said, now I'm on the move. I want to do my own show now and talk about NASCAR. And she said, I got my Twitter handle together. I got my Instagram handle. She said, I'm ready. So she said, she's definitely inspired now after being on Blanchard Outdoors. And that's what we're here to do, right? Inspire folks, get them interested in either doing what we do or trying to explore some of the things we talk about.
See, the media is changing. And even though TV is still the big 800-pound gorilla in the room. It is not the only channel. For the people who still got the flip camera, the flip phones, television is it. Television is their only media.
You have one of those, don't you, Ken?
Yeah, I just got rid of it like yesterday. But everybody who has a smartphone is slowly getting into podcasting. And the fact that there's a guy by the name of Mark Maron who has a podcast called WTF, which actually means what it thinks and says, what the F. Mark was a failed comedian who had a personality issue. People didn't like working with him. He had some serious issues. Got kicked out of a radio station, and I think he had a drug problem at one time. That dude just had an interview with the president of the United States. President Obama actually called him and came to his garage to be on his podcast. And he broke the record right now. He had like over 500,000 downloads in a day of that one show because of the president.
Oh, I'm sure.
Wow.
So there is a change amiss with new media. And even though the internet radio station is still a new concept for the over 40, we're about 50-50 right now with the population. There might be more of baby boomers and the new people. So that growth thing, even though our numbers might be small, we're at the pointy end of the spear. And that's the trouble of my life. Always sometimes been too far ahead from the mainstream. But I know a guy who runs a big XM station. He just left there, and he just left the outdoor channel.
Oh, he left the outdoor channel?
And he's doing his own thing. So it's, even though this seems humble, even though it seems we're on the pointy end of the spear, we're on the cutting edge.
That's great.
A lot of people are consuming their stuff through this, because if you're on the treadmill working out, which I will be this week, I'm resigned to lose some weight too. I am not fighting weight anymore. So if you're doing exercise, some people like their podcast to be time delayed, so they'll listen to the show on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever they're in the gym or they're in the car. They can't listen to this. They might even download it on the phone. Most podcasts, not podcasts, but most audio, we got the Google Hangout for all our audio fans. You guys, I've learned in the last couple of days that it's usually 7 to 10 minutes max on YouTube, and our show is an hour, so hardly anybody's consuming that much of a show. If I had an editor, we chopped this thing all down to a ridiculous thing, you probably wouldn't even know what we were talking about. But fit it in that, we'd probably get more downloads. Everything is fixed to the people, the audience.
And they want it fast. They want everything fast nowadays.
And hunting and fishing isn't fast. So
Not
you
at
guys
all.
might as well just slow on down, because you'll be consuming this stuff like, I gotta get the answer, but you won't be able to hunt that doe or that buck in 8 minutes.
No.
See,
No. And they don't realize that on outdoor
it's all
channels on TV. That's just edited.
Edited too?
Splice it,
I mean,
splice
I've watched it and sit there and it'll be in a 30-minute show, they'll be on day 5 of them sitting there. And like some of them do it. They'll be like, they'll say day 1, day 2, and they get opportunity of a 5-day hunt. And they may not harvest that animal till day 5, but you don't see the 6 hours or 7 hours it's been in the woods for 4 previous days, which culminates to 32 hours. They condense it all down and edit it because, again, they understand the attention span. People want the action. They want to see things now. So all of that stuff gets edited down. I mean, it all starts off big, and it gets edited down to the action or things that's taking place with that. So, yeah, especially in hunting, because, I mean, you know, and that's how people tell me, how can you just sit out there for hours and hunt? Because it's that anticipation of that 15 seconds worth of action. Because that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll be there. I'm there hours and hours for about 15 to 30 seconds of actual action. And then it goes from there. But that whole up to that point, and your adrenaline is going, heart's pumping, and me being that competitor, I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. And I'm sure it's the same way with people who are really diehard fishermen, things of that. Now, what gets me different is how you have a lot of women there that will do fishing, but they can't get into hunting.
Not yet.
No. And the reason I compare the concept, because no one looks at catching the fish as killing it. As opposed to when you pull the trigger on an animal, it's the actual you're killing it. And I'm like, well, that fish dies the same way. It just dies of suffocation because you're taking out his water element as opposed to a bullet or an arrow that takes the instant. I said, I'd rather have mine be instant than that fish being in that cooler for 30 minutes. Because I watch it, they're trying to suck up. That's suffering to me, as opposed to a bullet instant is done, or an arrow. as opposed to suffocation. Again, I'm the guy. I'm about the reality, but I mean, I understand it because it's not less right in your face of you have to pull the trigger and act take a life as opposed to fishing. It's the same thing. You're still taking that fish life. It's just in a different manner.
And for women, I know it's a lot about the elements too. It's more about the elements because they can't conceptualize sitting outside
In the cold
or tracking through the woods.
And can't move and can't, and then you're right.
We like to, we talk a lot. I mean, I have to say, women do talk.
Of course.
And we play on our phones and all that kind of stuff. So, and like to take selfies all the time, which I do in the tree stand. But, I try to tell them as long as you, I take selfies in the tree stand. I post them all the time. But the thing about it is you layer up. We talked about that on the show. And just, have your proper gear and you're good to go. But you have to spend a lot of money too. So
it does cost. I mean, I tell people, it's like, oh man, why you don't hunt? I was like, I have an expensive habit already. Because
why don't you golf? Or why don't you?
Yeah, I'm like, I have an expensive habit because it's either I'm buying bullets or, if the new, because with me, my hands and feet always get cold on a match on my lip. But this year, I do plan on hopefully buying the new Thermacell. Has something remote control foot warmers that you put in your boots, and it's actually remote control. You charge them up. It's expensive, and it costs about $150 for it. But in the long run, it probably worked for me as opposed to spending $10 a year on a 10-pack of foot warmers that's going to last me probably one season.
Right.
But once I buy these, it's for as long as I want to hunt.
And if you don't use the foot warmers in that current season, the next year when you try to charge them up by shaking them, they may not work. Sometimes they don't last. I found that.
And our goals and all that stuff that you're dreaming, that you're trying to accomplish, it's the same thing. You can't get from A to B or from A to C without going through B. And sometimes you fail. Sometimes you fish and you hunt and you don't hit anything. You don't catch anything. Failure isn't final. When you have a misstep, when you do something that you're not really proud of, you're supposed to learn from it. The truth is, there are really no mistakes. There's just learning experiences.
Absolutely.
That's the hardest thing to realize, though, that because your pride's involved, you might have lost some money. Some stuff is expensive to learn. Some people don't learn either. Some people just continue to do the same negative thing over and over again and try to get a different result, which is also the indefinite definition of insanity.
Absolutely.
You just keep doing that thing, get stuck in a loop. Your dream, whatever you want to achieve, you can do this. You can. You just have to persevere. You have to keep going. Sometimes the hill is a monster. And sometimes the best way to get over something is to find somebody who's been through it already. A friend, a relative, somebody who's gone ahead. And one of our biggest deals is we like to do it our own. I got this. You got nothing. You can't handle it by yourself.
Or we wallow in self-pity and we get stuck in that victim loop.
Victim is huge.
I'm a victim. Somebody else did this to me. I have to teach my son that all the time. No, it's not anybody else. It's you.
Victim is
you're
huge.
The one who needs to figure it out.
Man, our people are so stuck on the victim thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the man. He's trying to keep me down.
Right.
It's always who is the man?
Look, I'm black.
Yeah, right. Black. It can't happen because I'm black. I was watching today. I was watching it was like a real estate channel, and they were trying to find these homes on the Gulf Coast. They were like beach homes, and you didn't see any person of color getting a house on the beach. Like we don't play volleyball, like we don't fish, like we don't do nothing. It's us that don't do stuff. We hold ourselves back from so much stuff. You can hunt, you can fish, you can become an angler professionally. There's Kaylin and Bubba and a whole bunch of anglers and hunters.
There's Tarika.
Yeah. Tarika Whitley does knocking it out of the park. That's getting sponsors. Yes, you will opposition because folks aren't used to us. They aren't used to you being in that space. You can be a NASCAR driver. You can be a NASCAR rider. You can be anything you want to be. We hold ourselves back too much. Too much. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back on that.
And you're listening to Blanchard Outdoors.
We're going all over the place, aren't we?
Good.
Good stuff.
I worked in Prince Studio for like a year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he used to come in there, go in there, and then he kicked everybody out. He like to do the whole court and whole mix and everything. It's crazy.
Got to be a little eccentric
Yeah.
to be creative. I ain't all there.
And it's funny because I actually had a female say that to me though. Oh, catching a fish. I'm not killing the fish. What are you doing to it? They didn't look at it. You putting it in a cooler, suffocating, it's killing a fish.
Oh,
They
she
didn't.
said she wasn't killing it.
No, when she went and caught a fish, she's like, I'm not killing fish. I was like, do you eat them?
You taking it out of their natural
I was
habitat,
like,
they can
but they
breathe.
didn't look at it as killing them,
It's
as opposed to
strangling
pulling a trigger on something with a gun. They looked at it as killing. Seriously, that's why a lot of them didn't get in the hunting or whatever. They just couldn't kill an animal.
Right.
All right, we're back in WBGR Studios, broadcasting live, Blanchard Outdoors. I had a question, 2 questions, one for Dee, one for Vanessa. One is about cooking. Some person they wanted to fillet their fish. They wanted to know what's the best way to fillet it so that, so the bone don't come out. And it was a simple enough question, but I thought I'm just going to ask this because I heard you got cooking skills. No pressure though.
Well, the best way to fillet a fish or to learn how to fillet one is to watch somebody else. So that's how I was taught. They actually showed me and did kind of a demonstration. And it's difficult to kind of tell you, but I can tell you that I start with I hold the tail and do it that way and kind of take the knife. You have to have a really good fillet knife, of course. And I take and run the knife, go across the tail and kind of go under it. And try to do it, in a really nice slow movement. But sometimes you have to you don't want to do a jagged cut, but you do have to sometimes get in there and kind of wiggle it a little bit. But it's not that simple. It takes practice. So one day we went out and we caught so many blues, and we had no choice but to fillet these brothers because, of course, I told you, that I've never tasted an oily blue before because we usually fillet it. So I was taught how to fillet on a bunch of blues that we caught one day. We just had so many that we practice. So I don't do it very often, but when I do, it does take some skill. And, once you get around that bone, once you go under it, you get to the head and you flip it over. And you can go ahead and cut the head off. Once you flip it over, you cut the head, and then you do the same thing, flipping it over and go from the tail and fillet it that way. And then you cut the tail off, and then you're pretty much done at that point. You can actually cut it in half, or you can slice it again, depending on how thick the meat is. You can slice it again. But typically, because I like to have the experts clean my fish, I'll take it down to like the wharf in DC and let them clean it. But they're so expensive now. So a lot of times, I'll try it myself if it's if it's not that many fish. If it's just one big rock, I might do it myself. But most of the time I take it down and let an expert do it.
I've tried, same thing. I had a whole bunch of fish at one time, so I figured I'm going to teach myself. And I messed up some stuff. I had meat all balled up, but I learned that the knife was really important. If you have a really, really good fillet knife, that takes a lot of the work. And I start the other end. I start from right behind the gill plate. I press straight down and then do a cut. And I kind of like let the blade sit on the spine and then just go opposite way. And then once I get to the tail, it usually shoots right off of there.
Zip it right out.
And then I flip it. Sometimes you still get a couple of I forgot the name of the bones. But it's a lot easier. It's the knife though. It's really the knife.
I was going to say, yeah, anytime you're doing things like that, your tool is key. It's not only having a good fillet knife, but make sure it's also sharp.
Absolutely.
Because a dull knife can
cut you.
Yeah, cut you and just makes it a very unpleasant experience. So.
And the thing about it, to watch a captain or a mate fillet your fish is heartbreaking sometimes because people think, oh, they're taking, look at all that fish. But, it is what it is. If you want to keep the head and go shave some more off at home, more power to you. But I prefer to let somebody else do it most of the time because they have that experience. It's much faster and I don't have to mess up because I cannot stand to waste any fish, any food, period. So I kind of let the experts do it. But it's a little heartbreaking at times to watch them because there's still some meat in the head. Some people like to eat that meat. It's sweeter. Some people actually save the heads. You have some people that fish with you and, certain nationalities. I don't want to name any, but they actually make the head soup, Asian Caribbean.
I wouldn't say Asian mostly. I know.
That's why I didn't want to get into that.
So let's go Asian and Caribbean. We'd be right.
I know Africans. They want the whole.
Add them too.
But you went from 1 to 3 already.
I can only talk about the Asian. I've been with that family, so I was like, I watched them eat, watched them prepare, and I'm like, okay, so I can.
I've seen them and know. Yeah, they do a fish head soup.
Caribbean.
Correct. Caribbean, Asian, same way. I know Africans, they like to cook the entire fish,
Yeah, I like
everything
that too.
intact.
I do that too.
Yeah, they want everything intact. Do not cut the head. You cut the head off, you got a problem with them. They want the entire fish intact. Whether they're going to fry it, bake it, broil it, they want the entire fish intact.
Like we do pork.
Yeah, I did some escovitch not too long ago.
What's that?
Escovitch is a Caribbean dish, and it's onions, carrots, vinegar, and your Scotch bonnet peppers. And I found me a great recipe on. I love Jamaican food.
I didn't hear any meat there.
The fish.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I
you
did.
need to
I'm
include, I'm about to say
sorry,
you need to include that because you just said, I was like, I don't
did.
hear any protein.
I did escovitch. I think it was rockfish.
Okay.
I had some smaller rockfish,
Okay.
not the real, giant one. And I did some escovitch, and it came out so good. It was great.
I think that's when you
Yeah,
put on
she-
Facebook, right?
Yes, you fry it first, and then you actually smother it with the sauce, the vinegar, the peppers, the Scotch bonnet. It's great. One of my favorite dishes.
Ken, I would love to try that if you want to bring some in. You laughing? I'm dead serious.
I know you said that a few times.
Yeah, I mean, because we have yet to have anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be on Google Space. It doesn't have to be live on the radio. We'll critique it later on. We just like, since you rave that is so good, your favorite dish.
It's good to me. I don't know if
Kenneth gave you high praise as far as your cooking skills, so we just like to find out ourselves as well.
and thank you for the high praises, even though you haven't tasted it. I appreciate
I was
that.
going by
With the pictures.
the pictures, the people who were commenting, and even your big friend. What's her name?
Wow. We're going to say tall, because that can get
The tall friend.
Yeah, your tall NASCAR friend. There you go.
LaShawn,
Very nice.
LaShawn, she said that you couldn't drive, but you could cook real good. And I like stuck in my mind. I was like, this is a close friend. She's like dogging it right here on the radio.
Well, that's kind of coming out from some experience we'd heard with you in vehicles, so I would have to agree with her on that you probably can cook better than you drive. So
That's all
Yeah,
I love.
I think so.
So just messing with you. And my other question from the audience, they said, how would you introduce fishing to a new kid, to a family, to a kid?
I would just actually take them out there, make sure they have the proper gear. Let them know that they have to be patient. I would also ensure that they had some something for seasickness, just in case. So I like the bands, the sea bands they have now. There's these bands, and they have like a little dot underneath that touches your skin. And that really helps with seasickness because I want to make sure that they're not miserable. Because I've taken people out on the water for the first time and they have gotten sick. And I also don't want to come back in. I want to make sure they're good so we don't have to worry about taking them back to shore. But definitely patience, have enough snacks, make it fun for the kids. Life jacket, depending on how the parent feels about it. And just show them how it's done. We don't have to practice before we go out. Just get out there and try it.
Would you go boat or on
I was going to say, Lanessa's giving you a perspective from
A boat,
saltwater being a boat.
I would go straight to the boat.
Me, I would go freshwater first. And that would be just the reason, if you have a kid who's never been around water or whatever, I would just take them out there and let them see what goes on. Like see other people fish, be around the water. Because kids are inquisitive anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? They're fishing. What's involved with that? You have to throw out. Because a lot of times if you just take them, it can become frustrating with you. And if they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to cast and all that. Because I can say again, when my father went out, I watched him. Mine was all about, all right, what is he doing? Watch him. And he said, all right, son, this is what I'm doing. And again, I went out with the old simple things, the long bamboo cane pole. So basically it was put a worm on a hook with a bobber and basically just, well, that was what we call fish. And it's you put it out and you're watching the bobber. But again, to me, it was all about being out there with my father. I wanted to be outdoors and I like the water and the environment and the different animals and things. So it's being introduced that particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it could be no simpler way for me than to swing a hook over, lift up.
True.
Now with your modern day equipment, you're talking about spin cast, you got to hold the line, flip the bail, toss out. See, so there are a lot of things involved. And if you get a kid that doesn't catch on quick and then the line gets backlash or whatever. So that's what I'm saying. With freshwater, it's a little bit simpler. You don't have to worry about any type of seasickness because you're on land. But of course, me being a kid, he had to pull me back because I wanted to touch and be in the water. But that gives you that experience of being able to touch it, see it, that type of situation. Then when you caught a fish, bring it out, let me see it, put it in front, take a hold, let it fly, let me have that. Because I'm a touchy person. You can tell me something, If I can't touch it or see it myself, it's funny because we were talking about that over the weekend with my father about, his health conditions now. He has some health issues, and we want to make sure he drinks water. So I put a bottle of water on him, and I was like, hey, you can't get a soda till you drink. And he's like, oh, I drink the water. I was like, I trust, but I got to verify. I trust you, but I got to verify. Either somebody else had to see you drink it or I have to. So I'm the same way about things of, you can tell me the sky's blue. If I can't go out there and see it, I'm going to trust you, but I'm still not going to believe it until I do it. Right. So with me, in that sense, yeah, I know your experience, you love boats, being on that. Because again, as a kid, my first experience on a head boat, for most kids, it probably would have been their last. I went out on a head boat. We were fishing for black bass at shipwrecks. Guess what the bait was? Squid. And you got a whole boat of people using squid. That was a nasty smell. So that motion and that smell just got me sick. And I mean, literally, everyone knows I love to eat. I didn't want to eat anything else, but I was ready to go back out. Not the next day, but the next time I went back, I was all for it. Average kid, I was probably about like 11 or 12. The average kid, that probably would have been it for them. Like, I don't ever want to do that again. I don't ever want to experience that, but I'm not a quitter. Don't want to give up. Because to me, failure is when you quit and just give up on something totally. That's failure. You're going to get your knockdowns and things like that. But that's why I said I wouldn't necessarily take a kid on a boat the first time, because you're right. If somebody gets seasick, that could be the end for them. Yeah. As opposed to if they're on land or even your peer, that would be a great experience, because at least they're out. They get the smell. They can sense. They can hold a rod. You don't have to worry about that water element. Now, safety comes into play. You want to make sure they don't fall in, don't drown, that type of thing. But being able to watch you, see what's going on, then be able to help them. Yeah.
I took my girlfriend's daughter. She's 9. I took her last season. She was aggressive. When we weren't catching any fish, she was like, okay, Captain, honk, honk, it's time to move to the next. I was like, oh, my God, this is mini me right here. I mean, I didn't learn that young, but I took her out, and she was like, when are we going again? So and that was her very first time out. Her parents trusted me. They weren't even there. And she really enjoyed it. I was pretty surprised. And my son, of course, I took him out early, and we started on a boat because I know his patience level. And I knew he wanted to just get that quick action. So I actually took him there. Maybe that may not have been the right thing to do, but I knew we would get action, right away.
Well, yeah, you were lucky to have that, because, I know people have been on boats and they go with specific captains, didn't catch much at all.
Yeah.
And if you don't have, like I said, if you don't have pay, when it comes to fishing and hunting, they are very definitely patient type activities or patient hobbies or patient sports that you have to have. It's not going to be every time you catch fish. You're not going to get an opportunity to harvest or kill an animal every time. You may not even see one, but it's just all about, again, enjoying the outdoors, enjoying that environment, being out there, which I do, fell in love with it. So any chance I get an opportunity to be out there, I'm going to be out there, definitely.
Whatever comes up this week for you guys, if you are hunting or you're preparing for hunting or fishing, send us an email. Check us out on Blanchard Outdoors on Facebook. Send us an email. Let us know what you're doing so we can share the tips. If there's a question or something that you have going down, be glad to hear it. We're going to end this week's show. I mean, it's like just that time already. And
wow.
When you're having fun. That's
Is it over already?
I know, right?
Yeah, when you're having fun, time flies, absolutely.
But I'm hoping you had a very happy 4th of July, a very happy Independence Day. I hope that you have some time with family and that you are going to get off your phone and do something. Remember that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. So go out and do some of this stuff. Have fun. Live life to the fullest. This is Ken Blanchard. I'm with
D. Brown.
And Lunessa Terry.
And we are Blanchard Outdoors.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, y'all.